I'm deaf.
Hey.
Hell.
You got blood from that your ears. Evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Sci-Fi Chronicles. I've got a great bunch of people with me tonight. So just quickly to move it up. So first of all, Culture Casino. Good to see you, mate. How you doing? You okay?
I'm fantastic. I'm very interested to meet these great people.
Legends, mate. Legends.
Okay, fair enough. No, I'm great. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the invitation. I get to hang out with all these lovely accents that we don't have here, that I do very poorly, or so I'm told.
Don't do your Mockney. Do not do your Mockney.
I don't think it can, mate. I don't have any idea what that was.
Never been.
That was terrible.
And the Mega Geek Ian Diaz, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing all right. It's I'm happy to be here with me mates, of course.
Yeah.
Casino. Yeah. Who's making that noise? Ian, obviously. Ian.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Brown, good to see you. Nice to have you on the channel. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. And Price of Reason as well. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good stuff. And Z, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, John. Thanks for having me
Excellent.
on.
You are welcome.
We're going to have an interesting discussion tonight.
We are going to have a fun-filled discussion about a subject we absolutely all adore. Yes. So tonight, we are talking about obviously the woke era of entertainment, and whether we feel that whether it is actually left and has finally been destroyed, or whether it is just being rebadged and rebranded. So let's just start the conversation now, guys, with, feel free to jump in. What are our thoughts on whether we feel that, it has gone, or whether it's just being rebranded?
I think from the outset, we should specify exactly what woke is.
Yeah.
It's an ideology predominantly associated with the left wing and progressives, and it tends to align with left-leaning values such as diversity, equity, inclusion, or the traditional power dynamics which are in place, or systematic oppression, as it were.
Yep.
Racism.
Absolutely.
Damn.
Yep. Yeah. Fair play.
So that's what we're looking at: diversity, equity, and inclusion within film and movies.
Yep.
And is it getting any better?
So to start it off, with me personally, I don't think it's gone. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it now. I don't think, sadly, we can put it back in the box. I think they're just going to rebrand it and let things dial down a little bit, especially with Trump in office. And I think it will come back stronger when they hope that he disappears in a few years' time.
Do you really think so? Because, I mean, a lot of progressive or woke TV series, such as The Acolyte, Doctor Who, and The Last of Us, they don't sell merch.
No.
And they don't have viewers. So it's a loss leader for anybody who decides to go down this route. Even if you look at the most recent Snow White movie, they decided to update it for a modern audience, and that modern audience just wasn't there.
Yep. And how many years though, guys, have we all thought the same thing, and we've seen the merchandise in the bargain bins, and yet it's still carried on, it's still continued. I mean, when you've got people like, I'll give the example of Disney, with Disney, with their financial backers, they didn't seem to care about the fact that they were damaging these wonderful franchises. They were just more concerned with pushing their ideology onto the viewer. And until that goes away and those backers disappear, I can't see it going away. Are we seeing any signs, do you think, that the money people behind these movements are disappearing?
I'll tell you one thing, though. The one thing I do recognize, is that, I was editing yesterday, right? And I decided to take a break and I decided to look at YouTube, right? And I said, let me see what new trailers are out. And I shit you not, right? Every trailer that played, every man in that trailer got put down by a woman, or the woman had the last say in the trailer, right? I don't think it's gone away. I believe what you believe, John, that it's being rebranded. and it's still in our films, and it's going to continue to be in our films. So,
well, let me add to that. Great director, Mr. Movie Geek. Let me add to that very quickly and just say, I think it's going to be 50-50. I think half of these media studios are going to have to revert back to things that satisfy an audience. And I think the other ones will rebrand, as you suggest. I think that's a brilliant, a rebadge, whatever you chose to say, because they'll just change it into Bridge. And the problem is that if you've been fully infested, and I'm sure Price will agree with that, you've made it a part of your organization. It's part of the decision-making tree. It's part of the readers' jobs. It's part of the people that do the green lighting and the producers. If you've woven it into that level, you're doomed, because eventually whatever you try to produce or what you are producing is not going to have the lie of a modern audience. There just isn't one. So my suggestion would be that it's going to be a 50-50. Yes, there will be some studios that'll just keep it there forever as part of their organization, and then there will be some that will try to break free and go back to satisfying an audience. And I can tell you this much: I don't think it'll be there forever. I think it's still going to be here a while, and I believe this for the very same reason that I've said for the last 4 or 5 years. No matter what, you have 3 years of material that are already underway that they're not going to change. When they do change it, we've seen evidence that it's positive. Look at what Disney did with Inside Out 2, a Pixar project, right? Yeah. So my argument would be, if they are desperate enough to try to save, organizationally save, they will. And if they're not, they won't.
What did they do with Inside Out?
They removed a lot of
lesbian thing, didn't they?
Yes. And they also, if you consider this with Pixar, in the Disney Plus series that just ran called Win or Lose, they removed the identity confused person.
Now, was it removed from the script or
from the editing?
From the final cut?
Removed from the final cut.
So it was filmed, shot, rendered.
I have the animatics that were to be done. I have the entire bit saved. I don't know where it is, but I went about collecting it when it was available online, and it depicts the entire storyline visually, but not in the Pixar animation directly. So I think that well into production, with the realization that things like Light Beer and Strange World were not winning them money. I think
somebody wake up one morning and go, "Hey, fancy making some money for once?"
Yeah. Honestly,
let's make some money. Yay!
Yeah. But again, so just to round out my conversation on this part, I would say that, again, organizationally, it's going to depend on whether or not they need to make money, whether they want their part of the studio to survive or whatever else. I think they're gonna take their shots when they can, and I don't think Marvel's going to stop anytime soon.
No, I don't think. I mean, I was talking to John about this. They've stopped. I think they cancelled The Equalizer with Queen Latifah.
They did.
Right.
5 seasons too late. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, tell me, Brad, you didn't enjoy it when she literally dived over a wall like she was an Olympian. Really?
No, look, I was talking to John and I was saying to John, I don't understand. Why couldn't they just have made a show for her rather than take something like The Equalizer? Couldn't they have just made a show that she's like The Equalizer and not call it The Equalizer and call it something else? What is this obsession with taking something that was great in the past and then sticking a woman or a man of color in those? I don't understand.
They don't have to create anything. It's just lazy ass.
They want the IP. They want some kind of IP recognition. Now there's a new show on CBS in the States that's called Watson. That basically, it's supposed to be Dr. Watson from the Sherlock Holmes story in modern day without Sherlock, and he's black.
Shit.
Man, I mean, the amount of mental gymnastics there just to be able to use an IP but also have a black doctor is one of the strangest things I've seen. if they would have just called it anything else, just give it any kind of name that's not
Well,
that, just about a doctor that solves mysteries, you could have maybe created a new IP. But that's how little they actually believe in diversity, ironically.
You're right.
And I mean, given the classic example, I mentioned this to Ian earlier. Doctor Who. We know UK viewing figures for the last story was 1.5 million. Okay, so essentially, I got an image of, like, on the Monday morning, you got Russell T Davies, the BBC execs, and the Bad Wolf execs in there going, "Well, what's happening? We keep losing viewers. We keep putting diversity to them. What do? We throw more people in there. We throw more diverse people into our episodes. That'll fix it." That seems to be their mindset now, because they just keep doubling down. And, when are we going to get to that time when these people who have destroyed these franchises, and I'm talking Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, that they just get effectively blacklisted from the industry because they just tank things? They don't, though, do they? They just seem to get new work.
They won't because the majority of the industry is run by people that believe in that. Look, let me get one thing straight, and I've said this on the Brown Alliance, right? I actually believe in diversity. I really do, but done right. Okay, I believe that there should be more parts for people of color. I believe there should be more parts for women, but not ripping off something, not destroying a franchise. Give them new stuff. Sorry, Casino, you were going to say? Sorry, mate.
No, my thoughts. No, I agree with you. Diversity that represents the world around you makes a lot of sense, but that's part of a larger problem, right? You don't have assimilation. You have projection of culture that that doesn't intermingle. It's just like society right now in various Western countries, right? You are artificially changing the demographic makeup without, having the cultures intertwined, because there are certain cultures that just aren't compatible with modern society. And we'll set that aside for now and just say the problem is that all the people that believe this garbage in Hollywood, and the 19 blocks that make up the area of Hollywood that I always talk about, the 19 blocks of garbage, that's all they're capable of recognizing, the 19 blocks around them. So they're in a fishbowl that they can't escape. I mean, I think Chris Gore is a little bit more eloquent about this than I am. When he and I have talked about
Frank.
it. Well, Frank Gore, sure. I love that, by the way. But no, it's just when we have that conversation, and when we've had it in the past, it's been, they can't get out of their own way. So I don't mind that Hollywood may move to Georgia.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't mind if Hollywood goes to Nevada. Again, you're going to get real diversity there, and you'll have cultures that have assimilated that make these stories make sense. But and it's not that anybody would, quote unquote, have trouble with diversity. It just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to replace men with women and give them all the male characteristics.
Exactly.
Because,
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned Woke by the Back Door, because they seem to have adjusted this and had a change of tack where any male trait, which is deemed as toxic masculinity, is removed from the characters, entirely emasculating and neutering them. And they pass those traits over to the female character to create the obnoxious girl boss trope.
Yeah,
I mean, if
you're right.
100%.
you look at the recent Thunderbolts movie, all the male characters were dumb and ineffective compared to the female characters. And in the forthcoming Fantastic Four movie, Pedro Pascal is playing Reed Richards. Do you really think this version of Mr. Fantastic will be referred to as the smartest man alive, or is he going to be playing second fiddle to Sue Storm?
Just on a side note, we are going to go through the trailers when John's ready.
What?
And we are going to judge them by wokeness. Okay.
But no, look, I need to support my British sex robot down in the corner there.
Will do, mate.
And say that it's spot on, because I know we're getting a Mary Sue battle in the new stupid Marvel film that's coming after Thunderbolts. And I'm telling you right now, the 2 hours of therapy that I had in Thunderbolts was not worth the price. Okay, it wasn't. I had to pay $12 to get that therapy session, and I wanted to leave. And then they went into struggle session for 27 minutes. I'd already had significant amount of therapy.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, the writers of all the entertainment that we know and loved, they had probably served in the military, gone to war, done kind of hard, school of hard knock stuff, which, had a little bit of personal trauma, etc., that gave them the real worldliness of being able to write good characters. The people nowadays are just young nepo babies who have just had everything on a plate. Probably people of our generation who've given them everything on a plate, because when we were growing up, we had nothing back in there. And they've had everything, and it's just gone totally the opposite direction. And I've always said, I genuinely don't think it's not aimed for people of our age anymore, unfortunately.
Well, it's not, but
it's never coming. It's never coming back because it's just not aimed at us anymore.
I don't agree, because if the WEF gets their way and we end up with another global war, these people will have to have actual life experience.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, look, the classic example I always give is Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry was a fighter pilot in the Second World War, wasn't he? And it backs up what you were saying, Brown, about the fact that he did that. He then became a police officer, and I heard him talking at one point, and he was years ago before he passed, and he said, you came up through the ranks then, but you wrote a script for a series or a movie like you would write a novel. And that's what he did with Star Trek. And all of that experience he'd gained, that went into creating Star Trek. And you're right, now it's not a case of that. It's kind of, they just follow the latest thought process of the person that's brought them in, and that's how it progresses. I mean, another example, again, you've got Russell T Davies at the moment. He's not bringing in quality writers, he's bringing in young activists that think the same way that he does to write stories for Doctor Who. So that's the problem you've got.
It's strange, because the thinking process actually removes the qualifications, because there is no merit, is what you're talking about, the lack of merit. People like, as Mr. Brown said, people who've been through life and have had life experiences, they're always the best writers. J.R.R. Tolkien, for example. It's because not only have they had to relate to their own life, they've had to relate to the others around them who also suffered loss and tragedy and all these other things. They have a lot of stories to tell because of that life experience, oftentimes other people's stories, whereas the only main character in any of the new writers' minds is them. They only write themselves. They only interject themselves. It's one of the reasons why Kathleen Kenney is such a POS, because she puts herself in anything that she does. Yeah. She can't see outside of herself because she's so incredibly narcissistic, because she's been so isolated and protected and given credit for better men's work. I've said that intentionally. That's where we're at. And with the modern kids that have had no experience in this field, I'm distraught that we are looking at a period of time where we have such terrible content. There's 2 decades, I think, before we are through this entire disaster. And you're going to get limited things like, Rebecca Gold or something like that. But look, it's true storytelling. And it includes diversity, and it's an awful fun thing. And she's not a Mary Sue, but we're going to have Battle of the Mary Sues in the Fantastic Four. And I'm not okay with that. Thunderbolts was a complete disaster. And I know some people walked out of there enjoying it, and that's fine, but when we get to Doomsday, they haven't even finished a script yet. It was, last I'd heard, it was less than 50% completed.
Yeah. It's on the hoof now, isn't it? Whereas, the early phases, they had a structure and they had a plan for what they were doing on those phases. But now, it all adds up with the multiple reshoots that they have now, that they're just jumping around, sort of hoping something sticks and works. I agree with, and we'll come on to it about Fantastic Four, but for me, growing up with the comic books, it's, as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, this isn't Fantastic Four. I mean, straight away, it's not a racial thing for me to say Pedro Pascal is not Reed Richards, because he's not. There is nothing in that trailer that makes me think he's Reed Richards. He's the smartest guy on the planet. You know, nothing.
He
Absolutely
didn't
nothing.
shave his mustache.
Yeah.
Reed Richards in this film may as well be called Weed Richards because he exudes femininity.
Yeah, and I'm calling it now. I've said this to Ian, right? I read an interview about Fantastic Four, okay, by the guy that's playing Johnny Storm, and he talked about Chris Evans' role as Johnny Storm 20 years ago, and he said, "Oh, he was effectively he was a bit of a ladies' man, you know, and he was in the comic books to an extent, but he goes, we're going to do something different. Now I'm calling it now. He's going to be gay."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that never works well for a character, not at all.
No.
I don't know if you remember back in 2016 when Star Trek Beyond was released, they actually made Sulu in that gay.
Yeah.
And George Takei, who is an open LGBT activist, actually said that he thought that they were twisting Gene Roddenberry's original vision for the character, and that character was always a heterosexual.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. It doesn't work.
Activism, okay, but activism is different from back then to where it is now. Activism is trying to constantly reclaim ground, and it's the same problem with the SJW movement and the politically correct movement and everything. You have some ill-perceived vision of what happened in the past, and not even in your own personal experience, that you try to project forward into the future and get revenge for. Yes. Right? Yeah. You need to have it made up for. It's a concept of reparations here in the United States. None of these things are truly existed. Nobody in the United States, other than, you know, people who traffic through the Democratic Party or ever, you know, slaves, you know, that's just not happening here. And that conversation is a broad one and a dangerous one for a lot of people. But if you just look at it pure and simple, you don't get revenge for things that 4 generations of ancestors ago, you know, suffered through. That wasn't your fight. It wasn't your struggle. You can't internalize it. And if you pretend to, you come off as a fool disingenuously. Yeah. So anyway, I'll back off because I've talked an awful lot. But this kind of thing gets me fired up because I want good things. I loved the Doctor Who, right? Do you know what was sad? Then I'll shut up. Well, sorry.
No, carry on.
What was sad is I went to MegaCon in Florida, right? That was where the meetup was in for Florida this year with the, you know, everybody out there. And I went out there and they had a massive section dedicated to Doctor Who, right next to a massive section that was dedicated to Star Wars. So there were canines and Daleks, and I mean, like you could go like there were like 7 or 8 TARDISes. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was bigger than here.
It was massive. It was massive. Like it was a place where I would have spent an awful lot of time before. But what was sad is I walked through it in just a few minutes, and it wasn't a problem because there wasn't anybody doing it. Nobody was appreciating all this amazing artwork, whether it be authentic or fan built. Nobody was doing the same thing at the Star Wars section, which is why I mentioned those in tandem. These areas are dedicated to us. There's none of us anymore because we are not excited about these properties, which means we're not going to these events as often as we did, or we're not appreciating the things we used to enjoy. Yeah. We live in the past, which is a problem. And you can't capitalize on nostalgia if you don't keep making good things because there won't be any nostalgia.
It's worse than that. It's not just that they're not capitalizing, you know, on new thing or generating new things. They're taking things that we once liked and purposely ruining them. So, for example, I used to every year watch all 6 Lucas Star Wars movies. At least once a year, I'd sit and watch all of them. It would have to happen at least once a year. And if for some reason I'm even watching TV, even like cable for some reason some channel is showing a Star Wars movie, I probably wouldn't change the channel. It's the kind of thing that it's an event. It has to happen in my life. And I feel so excited. I would buy t-shirts every year. Like, you know, even if I go to, I don't know where, and there's like some kind of Star Wars, a retro t-shirt, whatever it is, I'd buy that. Sometimes like an action figure. And I'm not like the guy that buys the most stuff, but even I, once a year, like, you know, I'd buy something here, I'd do this, I'd go there. I'd be excited about it. And once I saw all the stuff that they did and how they ruined it, these days, I don't really feel like doing that anymore. I don't remember the last time I sat down and watched the 2 trilogies. I don't remember the last time that I bought something Star Wars related. It's like they really I know that people can say, well, can't you just delete everything you can do they've done from memory? But nah, that's nice culture.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's very difficult to rationalize Anakin as a product of the Force when black lesbian space witches did it first.
Right. And the thing is that there's
Yeah.
no way around it. Luke Skywalker has been destroyed as a character. I can't pretend that I didn't see how they ruined him. And it's not even helped by the fact that Mark Hamill himself is so annoying. So like,
He is.
if at least he was like nice, and you say, well, at least he'll always be like a Mark Hamill to me. But even that's not true. Like, he's a jerk. The character is a jerk. They've ruined the entire franchise and lore and everything. How can I be excited in the same way that I used to be about it?
You are right, Price. I mean, because to back that up, you're right, Brown. I think what I find is that a great example of it is Doctor Who again. You know, I still maintain out of all the franchises, that is the one that has been the most decimated by all of this nonsense, because they actively went back into the past to fit their own narrative. And like you were saying, Price, about, you know, it stops you wanting to watch it. The trouble is, stopped me for quite a long time watching it, because what they did with Jodie Whittaker and the Timeless Children and all that, and there were doctors before Hartnell, and you know, that's not a way to build on the legacy of something that started in '63. You know, if you're going to push your own narrative, fair enough, but you don't alter the past. You know, and they do it. And the other thing I was just going to say as well, I'm sure you're all the same as me, that you never had a problem, as Ian was saying, with diversity. Okay. But they pushed it to a point where everybody just got fed up with it. And you don't have to, even if you have a DEI initiative, you don't have to have it in every single flipping show or movie.
The thing is, John,
do a show.
They've had
without it.
Yeah, but they've had that. They had that when I was trying to get work at the BBC. When in the 80s, even before the 80s, the BBC had this remit that people of colour and people from different areas of England. So that's the reason why when you watch the BBC, there's different accents, because that's one of their remits, right? And also for people of colour to be in their shows, right? They were always doing that stuff, the BBC, and I really liked them for it. But now what they want to do is it's like a power grab. They want to decimate everything that is not the message, as the drinker would say.
I think the problem is this, and I want to also support what you said even earlier on. I don't think that there's anything wrong with having people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds in a show, especially if you're showing a police station in 2025. You can expect that there will be a black guy there, a Latin guy there. All of that makes sense. The problem isn't that there's a diverse cast in any of these things. The main problem is that the way they use this diverse cast, and a lot of times there's that kind of hierarchy and agenda. These days, if you see a show, women are the top, like at the top of the pyramid. I think probably women of color are at the top of the pyramid. In second place, maybe these days, like white women. After that, in the hierarchy, is men of color, and underneath them is white men. And then
you forgot the gays. You forgot the gays.
Sorry. They're up there. They have to be very important. The LG has to be like high up there also.
Are you saying
if you watch it from this lens and do like a pyramid and look at this hierarchy, every single episode, every single movie, almost every single one that you watch, all has to adhere to this. And, you know, the hierarchy will always play out in the way that I just described. And when you know it and you already see it coming, for just an example quickly, if I'm watching like a whodunit show, okay, and there's 4 suspects, one is a white guy, one is like a black guy, one is a gay guy, one is a woman or whatever, you already know that the white guy is the guy that did it. It sounds stupid, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And I'm really tired of that.
Are you saying Queen Latifah Equalizer is at the top of the tree?
She can't get to the top of the tree.
Thanks to that chat that you had up on the screen from Professor Artu about how he tried to watch some of the 10th Doctor stories and Tennant has ruined it for him. I agree. And I think social media has got a lot to blame for this. When the actors that play your heroes turn out to be nothing more than an arsehole with a keyboard, it does get a bit cringe. I remember when we used to worship Hollywood stars and bask in their glory every time they came on screen, and now I see a tweet from Mark Hamill and I think, oh, do fuck off, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah, do one.
But that's a funny thing, right? We can point towards social media and the fact that it was manipulated for so long. People were elevated and others were deboosted, whatever fancy bologna sausage they came up with, right? So, if you look at it that way, social media in relation to celebrity was also, a way to promote their ideology, but at the same time, it deflated their value to the people who were actually fans. So celebrities aren't that anymore. They're regular people. The celebrity contact commentary, the way that they were commercialized has changed so substantially that we don't have actual celebrities anymore outside of maybe Tom Cruise, maybe Denzel Washington,
Mr. Cruise.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. But no, but honestly, it's just there just aren't that many. I mean, until Will Smith decided to go, full cuck in front of everybody and slap somebody, and then he always revealed for just what a weak person he is.
Yeah.
He destroyed his celebrity. He would have been in the list of people I was naming right there. Right. And
he's not weak. He's not weak. He's just being taken advantage of. And he really does need to grow a set of balls.
Sure. Yeah, I guess to me that's weakness. I mean, a lacking in masculinity.
It's probably manipulation from
Well, for sure. I mean, and then all these celebrities have sacrificed their children to woke. I mean, that's like, hey, let's make you be a girl for fun. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a disproportionate amount of TQs within the Hollywood sphere.
Charlize Theron, adopts some kids, and suddenly they both turn out to be, trans. I mean, what were the odds? It's crazy.
The statistics there are very strange, considering that it's like a small group of actors that have children. That all of those children would all be that is really strange to me.
Affleck.
It's like, also the other thing is that most people don't have this kind of luxury to even offer their kids these things at all. Most people, I guess some people that have a lot of money, they can afford to get all these weird operations and things like that for them and their family members. Maybe that's part of it. But I don't even think that these kids, and this is my personal opinion, should be offered these surgeries.
No, not a chance.
That's another subject, though. But the thing is, though, again, I would say this: every trailer I watched had some kind of woke rubbish in it. Every one of them.
You know why that is, Ian? It's because both the BAFTAs and the Oscars have diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements to win the Best Picture and Best Show awards.
Yeah,
and what was it? Has had it since 2019, and the Oscars announced it last year. They're actually making films to qualify for these things, and I believe they also get funding, do they not?
Yeah, they do. It's 52% now, is it? Of diverse percentage of actors now for representation. I think I saw a report earlier today. I need to check it, but it's all because of their movement.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion can be in something that, in and of itself, doesn't make it woke, but it should be representative of where the location is. So, if you're in Scotland, I expect to see 97.8% white people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Demographic breakdown. You're speaking my language, my friend. This was my argument earlier. It's that you need to show proper assimilation into the existing culture. You can't fabricate a world that doesn't exist.
Or not only that culture, you also need it if it's a period piece. There's shows on the BBC that take place like in the 1950s, and it's like a rural village in England, and there's like 2 white people and 20 black and Asian people in it. It doesn't make any sense.
No, that's nowadays.
But hang on a minute. I like what you're thinking, but look, if it weren't for wonderful English television, I would not have known that Anne Boleyn was black.
Yeah.
or Queen Cleopatra in Netflix.
That's right, yeah.
They cast a black actress for that, and Cleopatra was a Ptolemy Greek.
Yeah.
Netflix were accused of revisionist history, and I believe the Egyptian government were looking at taking action against them
They were.
for damaging their culture. Still, I'm sure its IMDb rating of 1.2 out of 10 is well earned.
But again, you know, what you were just saying there, another example is when Peter Capaldi was the Doctor in Doctor Who, you know, his final season, he had the bit where he travelled back into, what was it, Victorian era
Victorian day,
on the ice fair on the River Thames.
Mm.
And, you know, you've got an Indian con man, you've got loads of black people walking around the streets around him, and they actually make a reference of having a conversation about it and going, oh yeah, it's not like what they told us it was, or something along those lines. And it's like, no. If you're going to do it properly. I can suspend my disbelief so far.
I remember watching the Chris Eccleston episode when Doctor Who'd come back, and I was so excited. And there was that bit where Chris Eccleston and John Barrymore, is it John Barrymore? Who am I talking about?
Barrymore. That's a different animal altogether.
Yeah, exactly. they kiss, right? And I remember turning to my brother and I'm going, that's
Did you give him a kiss?
That's just not right. I said to him, that's not. And I got berated by everyone in my family. What are you talking about? What have they got to say now, eh? What have they got to say now? It's like,
I'll add to
Yeah.
that, Ian, because you're right. Because when Doctor Who came back they announced it in 2003. Russell T Davies did an interview in Doctor Who magazine, and he actually said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, just because I'm a gay man doesn't mean I'm going to fill it with lots of gay people. Okay. Now, he subtly did it. And I think he subtly did it throughout the original run that he did, because it was at a time when he couldn't get away with it. Now he's just completely gone full. The floodgates are open. I can do whatever I want. And you're seeing what he originally wanted to do at the beginning.
I think in that final season was when Doctor Who started to turn woke. I mean, I didn't mind Bill Potts. She's one of my favourite companions.
Yeah,
but she
same
had to remind everybody that she was a lesbian every other episode.
Yeah. We know, Bill. We know. Don't tell us about it.
It's funny, as I said, right? When people, I get email, well, not emails, I get texts from people going, Ian, did you watch that Doctor Who episode? And I'm like, I didn't, because it's not Doctor Who. If Doctor Who was on, I would watch it, right? But this is not Doctor Who. It's Doctor What, right?
I mean, these days I have a responsibility because people count on me to watch it so that they don't have to watch it, and then I have to like quickly explain what happened so they're at least in the know. So I'm sort of like suffering for the masses.
Got whiskey on the go as you're doing it.
You have to have some whiskey to watch that crap. Did you see the recent one that he's in a barber shop in Africa? I mean, as a joke is like, if I was making a parody of their weird woke stuff, if I did that, you'd say, no, you took it too far, mate. And like, no, it actually, he was in a barber shop in Africa where everybody is always late for some reason. They're always arriving late and telling like lies and stuff. And there's some weird guy with dreadlocks. It was just awful. And then they quadrupled down and brought like Joe Martin. Suddenly, man, it's like everything. If you while you were watching it, you're like, this can't get any worse. And then like Joe Martin arrives, and I'm like, this is it.
It's scorched earth territory now.
Right,
isn't it? It really is.
Okay, let me ask you guys
down on the timeless children.
Let me ask you guys a question. Okay, right. Let's just take one trailer. So let's take Karate Kid Legends. Okay, I actually feel that's a bit woke, right? Because of the casting. Right, Karate Kid was always about the underdog, like Rocky. You know, it was meant to be like Rocky, wasn't it? But they cast this kid, who's this kid here, and he knows kung fu. So I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's going on here. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's cast because of this stupid woke rubbish.
No, it's because he's got a great surname.
If there wasn't this woke rubbish, this guy would be an American. He would be an American. What do you guys think of that? Do you think I'm wrong, or do you think I'm jumping into at shadows? So
you're talking bollocks here.
Say, am I? Okay.
Ben Wang. What
Wang? But what do you guys think?
Good to see you, Bolstrek.
What I think, I
Yeah.
think he was cast out of convenience and marketability to go to China. I think that's the only reason. And I have to tell you, I do not like the intermingling of these things purely for the pander, because that's all this is. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a Karate Kid film I'm interested in. I'm less interested in this than I was in Will Smith's kid being in a Karate Kid film.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Is that the one that turned out to be a girl? I don't know anymore. So
No, that was the one of the
he's-
reasons. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Bryce.
no, you go ahead. But I agree. He's the one that wears a house on his head or something, and he's maybe in the Q category of sorts.
Yeah.
But
well,
the reason, one of the reasons why they've done this is not only because of wokeness, it's also because they wanted to correct the last film, because the last film was called Karate Kid, yet they were doing Kung Fu, right? So now in this film, what they're doing is they're bringing Kung Fu and karate together with Daniel and Mr. Han, who is played by Jackie Chan, and they teaching the guy Kung Fu and karate to make him a better student. That's the thing I read in the latest trailer. So, but I still think it's a bit woke, because that guy should be an American. He should be, a kid that doesn't know anything. But then again, I am an old school.
I think from watching the trailer and seeing it, I agree there's going to be woke elements in it. But I get the feeling this one's going to be less woke than a lot of the other ones that we've seen and we'll discuss. But I'm in the culture camp. If it had just been a movie from Cobra Kai, I'd be all in on it. I'd be like,
absolutely. I'm not a fan of the
do it.
Karate Kid movies. I've watched the first one. I played the game of the second one on the Amiga, and I watched the reboot one, and I didn't rate that at all. But Cobra Kai, I'm there. I'm absolutely amazed that Johnny Lawrence is not in this.
Yeah, same here.
It just doesn't make sense from a narrative point of view.
No, it doesn't. And again, it's all of the kind of culture we're saying about the commingling, and you were saying, Ian, as well. But you've got in the trailer it talks about Miyagi. There's the two arms of the same house or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't like all of that. I'm just happy with just teach them Miyagi Do. That's it. End of story. I don't need to go any further with it.
This is just a cheeky cash in. This is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's riding on the coattails.
Yeah, it's just a cheeky cash in, get a few quid in.
Well,
I mean, sorry.
So actually, you go, Bryce. Yeah.
They announced this movie when they were still renegotiating the 6th season of Cobra Kai with Netflix, and I feel like Sony was using this as some kind of backup plan to still be able to run with this franchise. That's probably how this thing was even born. It really feels like a lot of business decisions here, like people in a business boardroom put this movie together. And still, just because I like Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, I'm going to go see it and hope that it's not crap. But it just based on the trailer, it looks probably less than anything else I've seen in the franchise to date. But I'll still go see it hoping it's not crap. That's all I can do.
Yeah. And speaking of things that potentially might be woke, I'm going to talk to you about this.
You mean the woman?
The woman predator with dreadlocks. I'm calling it a woman predator, a female predator. So guys, how do we feel about this one?
Thoughts on it? It's not hair, for fuck's sake. They're like contrails, and like what are they called in Star Wars?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the tentacle things that, like,
the actual tentacles.
The thing that Ahsoka, the fetish for what's his name, the cowboy guy for Star Wars.
Filoni,
Filoni's fetish. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Whether and I'm likely to agree with you that those things are not like this, but this is very It's very odd, and there's not enough of them, and this is a whole big conversation. And I've had this conversation with Mr. H specifically, who has been talking about this particular film for a bit now, and I don't believe it's a girl character. I do think it's supposed to be a brother to one of the others that are released here, and I guess the brother dies in this.
But why does it look so feminine?
Okay. Have you watched Hollywood or television recently? I mean, they're wearing dresses to award shows and crap, dude. Did you see the Met Gala? The most fabulous dress there was wore by Walton Goggins.
Yeah, I saw that. But you know what, right? That's 2 trailers down now that we have agreed. Well, maybe we haven't. We've agreed that this stuff has woken it. Both.
Oh, goodness, yes. And well, I mean, look, we also know that, I mean, they are trying to get high quality versions of the female synthetic humans there into this particular thing. That's yeah. But when I see this, I'm like, all right, well, we're going to get to see some things we haven't seen. There are things to be excited about, but I'm not enthusiastic about this red mask. I think this is terrible, and the prosthetics designer should be chastised.
Yeah, this is a real ugly Sonic moment, isn't it?
Yes.
Where the studio looks at it and goes, yeah, we should change this.
Have they just tried to make the most kind of appliance-friendly, movable mask so it can just
No, it just looks like one of those.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they can apply that makeup within a couple of hours instead of about 10 hours.
But it has all the traits, right? Because it's got hardly any hair at the sides, and it's got blue hair.
Like me.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
hey,
you know,
look, cornrow, dreadlocks, whatever you want to call them. I'm just this just doesn't look authentic to the
What
Predator.
if it's a great movie?
No.
That's the other thing, right? So, like I said, there are elements of this in the trailer that I appreciated, but did I see the things that the famous director here sees? Yes, I did.
Yeah, I can see this one though. Just doing adverts for them. Just doing Head and Shoulders and just combing their hair back like that because I'm worth it. Because it just looks that bad.
I'm worth it.
It really is. So this is the point I was trying to make, right? Every trailer I've seen so far has, and this is the thing, right? They're trying to rebrand it now. They're trying to push it under the radar. Not very successful because we can see it, right?
Yeah, we can. It's not aimed at us. Though.
That's true. That is
it's
true.
Not aimed
but it's aimed at a minority, and that's not working with families who are the main people who watch these things. I mean, Doctor Who used to be a family event that I'd watch with the wife and 2 children.
Yeah,
and now it's for I don't know, queers. I don't know.
Perhaps it's not made for 50-year-old plus people.
Why? They managed it for 50 years.
That's true.
Until now, yes.
You know what? This is not made for you means that there's only a 7% audience for almost everything now.
Well, it's made for them.
But
they don't want to watch it.
Nobody's going to watch it. I mean, this is not made for me. I'm going to go see it because that's what I do, obviously, now for a living since I retired from my company. But I'm not enthusiastic. I'm interested because this could be a turning point for this and to get us closer to Aliens versus Predator and all that other kind of stuff that I'm keen on. But when you look at these trailers, and that's 2 for 2 now, where we're like, this is not authentic. See, and that's the problem. Our jobs here on YouTube, what we do all the time, who we watch all the time, we look for authenticity. None of it's represented anywhere. Used to be, Hollywood used to represent the real world with a flourish, with jazz hands, right? And we liked that. But now it's all jazz hands and no authenticity. And you can't sparkle all the time, kids. You got to tell something, an authentic story with authentic characters. And Hollywood's not doing that.
Do you know... sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
Do you know anybody used to watch NCIS? NCIS?
Yes.
That show on TV, that long-running show. Right. They used to have these 2 characters, Ziva and Tony, right?
Yep.
And they were kind of in love. They've made a spin-off show.
Yes, they have.
Right. I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
And he's always been put It's like Ziva is like this really strong character who has the last word and everything. That's what I'm saying. Every trailer I've seen put men down. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's becoming a huge joke now. You know?
Yes. Well, okay. So can I speak to this from a business perspective real quickly? And some of the ideas behind some of these globalist corporations and stuff. They're relying on something that they've dubbed or deemed to be the she economy. I introduced the idea in one of my videos not that long ago. But because of the number of dominant high power professionals have been expanding in the feminine area and decreasing in the male area, because of the access to education and all these other advantages that they're given, because here in the United States, we had this terrible thought process around making everybody equal. We took feminism and went 4 phases beyond what needed to happen, but we'll set that aside for now. The she economy is a real thing. The wealth transfer from men to women is happening. The access for women has been artificially increased instead of at what they were claiming would be a 50-50 level. Women outnumber the number of men. The only way that they're going to satisfy any kind of desire or feel like they've achieved anything in the future is going to be through their economic elevation. And so the she economy is that they are developing things at a more aggressive rate towards an audience or a consumer that's female. Nothing's being developed for males anymore. And that includes film and television and everything else. But it's also because those are the people they're advertising to. The she economy, that's why you get nothing but chick ads when you're, watching a television program now. Either that or some kind of pharmacological ad here in the States. But you guys don't have to suffer those. We do. But it's just, that's what's happening, is this artificial business situation is turning into what their ideal audience. They everything is now about females. Well, and the gays. Okay. But that's what it is. That's what it is.
And the biggest problem with aiming at the modern audience is you're going to date your media in the here and now. So you're never going to see a timeless classic again using this method, because it's going to place it firmly here. So my message to Hollywood as a whole is very simple: is keep your real world shit out of our escapist fiction.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be hard because they own it. They own it, don't they? So.
They do, and because of that, things are never going to change.
No, they're not.
No, I think you can't. This is where I am with it. I don't think you can put it back in the box now, because I think even if the movement of this ideology as such is curtailed, there's still going to be elements of it that are still going to be put in. And we're severely at a point now where we're at studios making stuff by committee more than ever now as well. So, to create something truly original, I don't think you're going to get that anymore.
Do you remember? So, Guardian of the Galaxy, right? The first Guardian of the Galaxy. The main character, he was quite a strong character. He was the one that brought everyone together, told everyone they had to depend on each other, and formed that team, wasn't he? And then the second movie comes out, he's a bit soft. And then the third, he's even worse, and then it just gets worse and worse. You could tell something was happening with that. I remember watching Endgame, and halfway through Endgame, I was thinking something's not quite right here. Do you know what I mean? Suddenly, Miss Marvel turns up, and she feels like she's been shoehorned into the film.
Okay, imagine this: Thor. Did you watch the regression of Thor, which is what I call what they did to that character?
Yeah,
not good.
That's the same.
I still haven't watched that film because, being a comic book fan, I love that story with the God Butcher in the comic books.
I think the Thor is the worst of the lot, to be honest.
Yeah, and what
everybody loved Thor.
Yeah,
great character.
And again, that was a period with Marvel, wasn't it, where they were hiring Rick and Morty writers to come into Marvel, and they were trying to make it more whimsy and more comedic throughout their films. Whereas, I preferred it when it was phase 1 and 2, and you had, like, for me, still my favorite is Winter Soldier. I love everything about that film. It just works perfectly for me.
Yeah.
But you know, a few movies on, you weren't getting that anymore. You were getting the in jokes quite often. It worked in Avengers Assemble, but it was right because you had Whedon at the time who had a talent of weaving those things in.
He got Me Too though, didn't he?
He did. So he got jettisoned out. Now, one thing to segue in, I'm going to say, right, this one, guys, I want your verdict on this one. Diversity in it or not?
No. I saw the trailer for this, and
I don't know what it is.
Haven't seen it.
Old Guard is based on a comic book, as I believe, and the first one. Yeah, the first one
was really
on
good,
Netflix.
actually.
I did like it. I just saw the trailer for this one, and I thought, yeah. So I don't know about this one. I take it you guys haven't seen the first Old Guard, no?
Oh, I have. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it. But was it? I mean, so there was one girl that was buried under sea, right?
Yes, but she's still alive because they're immortals.
Yes, that's right. And she turns up at the end, doesn't she?
Yep.
And she was her lover, Charlize Theron's lover as well. So they've already established it in season 1, and I think you're just going to get more of it in season 2. So this is in the big box of it's a woke diversity movie. The last one, like use it. I think it was you said you didn't mind it. I didn't mind the first one.
I didn't mind it either.
But
I thought it was good.
I've got a feeling they're going to push more of it into this one.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, it was a story and the concept that carried it, and it was really good. But if they're going using that story and concept and then injecting wokeism into it, it's just going to crash and burn.
Well, when you
they're not making consistency. If you look at also Netflix Extraction series, they're great movies. I love them.
Yeah, they're good.
And if that's toxic masculinity, then give me some more of that, please.
Yeah. And what you've got in here, guys, as well, when you watch the trailer for it, you've got Charlize Theron. She's fighting a big bloke who's twice her size, and she does a flip and takes him down and launches him through a window, you know. And straight away, again, I'm kind of, that takes me out of it, really, you know. It just,
when you see her skinny little arms,
exactly,
this bloke around the room,
and then the trailer ends at the end, you know, because Uma Thurman is the antagonist in the film. Yeah. So at the end of it, you've got the two of them circling each other, squaring up. So it's like going to be a girl boss movie, you know.
I got to admit, I don't mind that kind of stuff as long as they don't, you know, berate men, or, you know, like if it's a pure kick-ass girl movie, that's fine with me. Do you know what I mean? But it's only when they start introducing the lesbian thing and then putting men down and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a bit rubbish, really. Let's face it.
So Brown, there, were you kind of
go on?
I was going to say, was Brown, were you kind of almost saying there you were quite
depends
happy
what lesbian
Uma Thurman and Charlize,
depends what they're doing.
I guess. Yeah.
Whereas the first movie was more of a team movie. This one, if you watch the trailer, it's predominantly the female characters that are on screen, and you don't see the other three guys.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is a bit of a disappointment, because now you can see where this movie's already shifting to before it's even out.
Yeah, and you look at it from the trailer and the guys that are kind of following her. It's already from the trailer you get they can't do anything without running it past her. And that's a problem.
She is the boss. She is the boss. Let's face it. So,
do you have to call her sir?
No, no, not really. I mean, this one, I will see this one because I like the first one, but you can see where it's heading. I don't care what anyone says. You know, like every time I say something like this, whatever live stream I'm on, you always got someone going, "Oh, Ian, but you don't know because you haven't seen it. Give it a chance."
I don't
see the signs.
I don't tolerate that nonsense anymore.
Yeah.
Like when the audience responds like that, you know, and in like the argument against, or the argument for Thunderbolts, I'll give you just as an example. In a stream I was on the other day, the audience pushes back and says, "Wasn't a bad film." It wasn't a good film. So defending a film saying, well, it wasn't bad, is not the answer. I mean, I understand your perspective. You liked it, okay? And I'm not here to yuck your yum. Well, I mean, sometimes I am just for fun, but that's for fun, okay? I can be a bad person. It's a good time to wreck people's enjoyment. But I will tell you that in this particular case, that is not an argument. I don't. That's the same thing. I do not accept that argument. I don't accept the argument that, how will you know you haven't seen it? How many films do you have to see with the same tropes before you recognize this is the same blueprint for every other disaster that they've put out recently? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, well, I haven't seen it yet. No, I mean, that's obvious. Nobody's seen this shit yet. Sorry. I actually said a bad word.
No. But, I mean, it is because you're right. I mean, how many times do you have to see the similar thing to go, well, why am I going to go and watch it? I know what's going to happen in it,
Hollywood should absolutely make Girl Boss the movie and make it realistic. Have a fighter marine and have her face caved in. It would be a most excellent comedy.
Yeah, I mean, but you go back to Queen Latifah, about the Equalizer earlier. I was telling Ian earlier today, right, that my mum was watching it, and I walked in, and she's seeing a guy, like a super buff guy, who's probably 29, 30, and she meets him for a coffee outside a diner, and the first thing he says is, "Can I just tell you how absolutely beautiful you look this morning?" And it's like, no guy does that. She's clearly paid for that to be included in the script, literally.
She's no Robert McCall.
Ian, you're looking very beautiful this evening.
Oh, thank you very much.
I don't want to know about your secret cafe, meet G2.
In my headcanon, Price is black.
Yeah, and mine too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why though.
So the next one, guys, is this one. Okay.
Which one? Oh, honey, don't. Right.
Have you seen this with Chris Evans?
Audrey Plaza.
And Audrey Plaza, yeah. And have you seen the trailer for this one, guys?
I haven't, but it's first of all, I like both those actors. I really like Audrey Plaza. I think she's amazing, and she just lost her husband, so she's free, guys. I'm just saying. But she has the ability to make awkward last forever, and I love that in a person.
She's
so. But I'm gonna go watch this trailer after we're done now, because this is I think the only one I haven't seen.
This is directed by the Coen brothers.
So it should be good, right?
Yeah. I mean, but the main star is the girl that was in Substance.
Demi Moore.
Not Demi Moore, but the other one. She's the main star. She plays
Andy
detective.
McDowell's daughter.
Yes, she plays detective, and she's the lead of this movie. It looks
Quali is her name. Quali or something.
I don't know. She's very pretty.
Or something.
Yeah,
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
But again, it demonstrates. It shows Chris Evans as a slimy preacher who sleeps with three girls. And
okay, let me just say that here in the United States, this is not a fiction.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But one thing you do pick up on is it's another attack on Christianity.
Again. It
seems to be the only religion that people are allowed to attack openly and get away with it.
Yeah, and again, it's when you watch the trailer, guys, you'll see the fact that Chris Evans is his character is effectively he's playing an idiot. He's that white male idiot again, and then you've got one scene in it where the protagonist in it, she's having a conversation with him, and she's all super tough and I can drink this and I can drink that, and kind of putting him down. So it's definitely got that element in it, and then you've got the one bit at the end of it where the protagonist and Aubrey Plaza, they're in a bar and they effectively say they're going to team up together. So it's their movie, and Chris Evans, is clearly going to be the dumb antagonist in this movie.
So that's three for
free. But check out the trailer, guys, because it's interesting. But this, like Culture was saying about in the US, the character he's playing in it is very much the Genesis song "Jesus He Knows Me" in that video. That's the character basically that they're going for in this.
And he knows I'm right because I've been talking to Jesus all my life. Hey, look, but it actually exists here in the States. I mean, you know, they're like every 8-10 miles in my area of the woods, there is a big independent church with one of these people that wants you to, you know, believe so hard that you give him $100 a week in tithing or something.
And they've got 4 jets and something like that.
Yeah, they're doing just fine on no salary. So it's like, all right, you're magic.
Tax breaks.
But honestly, no, I mean, it's somebody, I'm not sure which of you wonderful gentlemen did, but this is an attack on religion. You know what the only religion you can't attack? The ones. Well, wait a minute. You guys are struggling. You guys are struggling. But I won't say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's scotched my speculative script for Muhammad and me.
I would love that. That sounds great. Why are we down? What happened?
I don't know what John's doing.
What? That would actually make a great movie.
Dizzy.
If you just have the character blurred out right the way through, so you can't see him.
We've got someone else with us now. We've got Bolstrex joined us as well.
Oh, amazing!
Bolstrex. What happened to Price?
Price is here. Don't worry. Price screen. Price at the center screen for a second. You know, he's just, you know, he just wanted to do it. So there you go.
All right, fair enough. I will say that now we can really talk about the how great Doctor Who is. Let's do that. And then let's follow up with some Star Trek.
Everyone on the screen, okay?
Everything's cool.
Yeah, I'm less dizzy now that you've stopped moving things.
Does that picture represents how you feel, Chris?
Hi, everyone. Well, no. That picture's been up for a few weeks. People wanted me to do a new face reveal, so I just took a picture. This is me doing videos. Hello, everyone. How's the stuff?
Well, we've seen 3 trailers so far, and they've all been woke.
What did I miss?
You missed
nothing.
Honey Don't,
Karate Kid, Legends, and what's the other one?
The Old Guard season 2 movie.
Yeah. So there you go.
I could have guessed that.
Yeah.
Easy guess. Yeah.
So I mean, the next film to talk about, you know, we've kind of touched upon it before we get into a Doctor Who discussion, but Fantastic Four, everybody. So is it going to be woke or not? Yes or no?
It's going to be about childbirth.
Yeah. And
not only that, I think that Reed Richards will be unable to stop Galactus. His planet will be destroyed. It will be his fault. And then
he'll come into this
universe, as you saw in the end credit scene of Thunderbolts.
Yeah, but the 2 girl bosses are going to come together in just amazing ways. I mean, you've got Girl Boss, you know, versus Shalala Ding Dong, and I think it's going to be great. I mean, this is going to be the wokest Marvel film since the last Marvel film.
Haven't they learned anything?
And as I said at the beginning, I'm calling it now. Johnny Storm will be gay in this film,
giving a whole new meaning to Flame On.
Flame On.
2 different cuts.
I can very happily say I'll be skipping this one.
Yeah.
I've skipped all Marvel movies except for Deadpool and the Wolverine one. I've seen clips and I've seen the trailers for this. I will say it looks pretty.
Hey, garbage.
But anybody who knows me knows how much I can't stand Pedro Pascal. I think the guy's the Antichrist.
Nails on a chalkboard, isn't he?
No,
really?
Again, I dislike him intensely. Protect the dolls. I don't believe in transing children. I'm sorry, Pedro. You've lost me now.
It's going to be
I as much as I don't care about The Last of Us, I think it might be a good thing that he's left. Although then then you're left with that other young lady. Is it
the potato?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, potato head. Okay,
Bonnie
we'll go
girl.
with that.
Bonnie girl.
But he's another one, isn't he? He came along like Zendaya. They just keep getting the work.
Yep.
They keep getting the roles, and it's like but they're not very good at what they do. And what I find so comical, he's been outspoken on a lot of things, but Gina Carano says one thing, and she's booted out of Lucasfilm. And
Well,
Disney.
she refused to put pronouns in her bio.
Yeah.
And when she put beep bop boop, the TQ cult had an absolute field day.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I honestly hope that she takes
What does
Disney
beep
to the
bop boop
cleaners.
mean?
Same. Likewise.
Don't know. Another thing that bothers me about Fantastic Four is the Thing is too small. In the comics, he's meant to be much taller, much bigger than that.
He looks
Yeah,
like
he
a
doesn't have
baby.
his Yancey Street accent either.
No, he doesn't either. No.
Yes, but here's the thing: you're getting a miniaturized Galactus too. So you have the proportional.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. Even when you take aside all of the woke stuff, as a Fantastic Four fan, what I don't understand with Marvel, and this is where I know they're rushing things again, is the fact that Galactus should be like a Thanos level villain. You leave him for the end of your phase. How are we going to stop Galactus? We need to build alliances. That sort of thing. They've got him in the first film, but then they're already hinting that you're going to see Doctor Doom at the end of the film. So
Isn't that
even
the thing you see at the ending of the film?
you see Galactus at the end of the film, but you see Doom as well. Apparently at the end, that'll be a post-credit scene, I reckon. But again, it's even if you take all the woke and the ideology stuff out of it, they're still trying to cram too much into one film.
I'm
I
less
mean, like
worried.
Superman.
I mean, honestly, with this movie, I'm less worried about everything you just said because beyond all of that, just the casting of these characters looks awful to me. That's worse than anything else. Let's just say the casting was great and you love what you were seeing, and maybe they put in a few too many villains. Maybe you could let it slide, but this casting is awful. And I've said it before. I kind of wish they just would have taken the Jessica Alba cast and just made a new movie with them. Yeah. That would have probably been more likable than this.
Yeah, and she, I mean, what's her name? Who was Sue Storm in the Fox movies? Yeah, I mean, isn't she still younger than Vanessa Kirby?
She probably is around the same age. I think Vanessa Kirby is like 3 years younger, but let me tell you something. Yeah. She looks better than Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Price, I would say that you've got to pretend that 40-plus-year-old women are going to be able to easily become pregnant. You misunderstand the whole motivation of the film.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, it's Mr. Fantastic that got her pregnant, right? So,
hey, I'm not even.
You don't know. Maybe that thing can stretch in different ways. We don't know.
He's made of rubber,
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. But you know what? It looks nice. Unfortunately, the casting is bad.
Does it?
Yeah, it looks nice. It's got a nice aesthetic to the film.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
The casting is wrong, completely wrong, and also the fact that you can see it's woke beyond belief, especially when Reed says nothing in the trailer apart from a few words, and Kirby's character is literally spearheading that trailer, so it's going to be woman boss, big time in Fantastic Four. So,
you're right, Ian. You're right, Ian, though, because what you were saying earlier about, I think it might have been Price actually, that saying about the fact that Reed Richards is effectively going to be, blaming himself for not being able to save his universe, Earth. It might be you, actually, Z. Sorry, and it even in the trailer it suggests that, because he's basically saying along the lines of, I reached out into the universe and something reached back, and it's my fault, and he goes along the lines of, I don't know if I can stop it. So they're already setting that up from the trailer. So you're right, that is going to happen. And it's just lazy now, isn't it?
They've turned Silver Surfer into a woman. I know it was in the comics, but it was when the comics turned woke.
In a limited run as well.
So they've done that, and they've done that deliberately as well. It's not like it's an accident or they don't understand. They've done it deliberately. That's why I say it's 4 for 4 now. Fantastic Four is going to be woke. That's what I think. So
100%.
And
some people like to see girls wrestle. I'm just saying, maybe it's got some redeeming value.
Maybe if we
Jelly
see that, I'll
Wreck-
be happy.
I know you've got to go in a few minutes, Price, but I was going to say what I'll do quickly is just talk about Doctor Who as well, because I know you're suffering the pain for the good of everybody else and reviewing it at the moment. So how bad is it compared to previous eras? I mean, I've had a lot of people say to me that actually, as bad as Jodie Whittaker's era was, Jodie Whittaker's era was better than this era.
Yep.
I'll tell you why. Jodie Whittaker, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Jodie Whittaker was a disaster. That whole thing with Chibnall and her, that was a disaster because it was a woke disaster. This thing is a combination of woke disaster along with the fact that Russell T Davies has become very, very bitter. And every episode that you see now, it's him explaining to you, like if he thinks you're like white podcasters or whatever it is, or fans that he doesn't like, he's lecturing to you personally and telling you how upset and bitter he is that you didn't like what the woke stuff that he did to the show, and he thinks you're a terrible person. And every episode he wants you to be sure that you know that he's pointing his finger at you. Every episode now.
But other than that, you like it, yes?
No, I mean, it's like, it's not even a situation that you're watching something. This has become, like people were saying, or you guys were saying, almost like a She-Hulk situation. They are just, the show is now there to bash you and make you feel bad that you didn't like all of his woke crap. And really, I mean, I don't know what the guy expected. He came back, he got a lot of goodwill from fans. Even when they announced Ncuti Gatwa, people were like, well, it doesn't matter what the guy does in his personal life, it matters how he portrays the Doctor. And I think people gave him, some goodwill. But initially, they did the bait and switch with Tennant, where they did all that pronoun stuff that nobody liked, and LG stuff that was over the top and annoying. Then they brought Ncuti Gatwa, and they continued to push all those same ideas. And now he's like, I can't believe people didn't give it a chance. Well, when you take something that people like and you take a dump all over them, then why would they give it? Why they did give it a chance, actually. But they're not going to continue to watch it.
Pointing out that we just didn't accept it. I mean, the show has lost 1.1 million viewers since the first episode, Space Babies, until last week's episode, Lucky Day, and that's only looking to increase when we get the overnights tomorrow.
I mean, what was it last week, Z? What was it, 1.5
I don't
million?
know. I'm not watching this season.
Yeah, the overnights.
1.5.
Do you know? Do you know what, guys? I'm not watching Doctor Who. This is not Doctor. I'm not watching it. But you know what I am watching? I'm watching Bowstrex. Destruction.
The reviews are a lot. More.
So that's all I'm watching.
Well, I could say I did not review this week's episode. I decided to take the weekend off. There is a review up on my channel, but I gave it to the GOAT this time because I just couldn't.
All right.
He's up there getting destroyed by the algorithm because YouTube loves me. So I've got his notes from today's episode. He doesn't agree with my name, Dr. Nutty. So he's renamed him Dr. Pervert the Poopy Head, but I'm just gonna keep calling him Dr. Nutty. So this week Dr. Nutty went to get a haircut. That was
that's it.
But in all seriousness, this is far worse than the Whittaker era. The Whittaker era was so incompetent. It was actually humorous. Like you could actually laugh, and at least Graham. I will give it. I like Graham, so there was one thing that I liked about that era. Then it got worse when you left, but it was so incompetent on every level. Some of those episodes came pretty close to so bad it's good because she was so miscast. The writing was just so horrific. Like everything down to like the music that sounded like somebody mashing their hands on a keyboard, which apparently was a work of genius. So you could laugh at Whittaker's era. This current era, having watched it, and especially this season, is some of the most vile, hateful, bitter stuff I've ever seen. And if people remember, and I am going to start saying "I told you so" a lot, Because if you remember 4 years ago, I warned everybody about what was going to happen, and the entire internet pounced on me, and there were many live streams calling me many bad names. So I would just like to say once again I was right. It actually turned out worse than I thought it would, but this is a very, very bitter, angry man who hates everyone.
Ian?
Yeah, me.
Just quickly before you guys jump in, I just want to say Bryce has got to head off now. So really appreciate you coming on, buddy. Thank you very much for your time, and see you again soon. But thanks for coming on.
See you, Bryce.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
I think he's gone. He's
He's gone off shopping now. He's
just left his own.
But yes, Ian's an angry old man too.
I am too.
Angrier than my avatar. I'm kidding you. But no, it's like this. I've never seen this quite on this level. But I'd say Doctor Who is by far the most toxic. By far the most toxic of all the destroyed franchises, because the fandom is just radioactive. What's left of the fandom. But no, all like you can just sense the absolute hate in every episode. And this one, it's almost comical in a different way, because the show is now so angry, so hateful, so bitter, that you kind of have to laugh at it, that it even exists. And this is a 62-year-old man throwing a temper tantrum, and he's decided he's going to destroy the thing that he created in spectacular fashion. It's something to watch. I unfortunately have watched every episode except for today, because the goat watched it, but I watched the other ones. And last week I was watching it before I started working on my review, and for the first half I'm like, okay, something's going on here, a white couple on British TV. Something's going to happen at some point. And then I remember I got halfway through. I'm like, okay, I need to take a break. So I did some other stuff. So then I have to watch these things 3 times when I'm making my reviews. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
So then I'm like, so I got to the halfway point right before our reveal is made. So then I get back and I got a TV in my kitchen. So I'm, making my Saturday breakfast before I go and torture myself for the next 10 hours making my review. So I'm like, okay, I'll finish watching this while I'm doing it. The dog's playing. I got it playing in the background. And literally I started it right at the point where the white dude is revealed as like the ultimate villain. I'm just sitting there. My jaw's dropped. I burnt my eggs. Because I'm like, no, you can't be serious. Then it keeps going. Okay, so you have 8 episodes, and you decided to use an entire episode to attack the people on YouTube that you don't like. So I'd like to say thank you, Russell. I know that was partially directed at me and some other people, so I feel very privileged, to use a term that you like.
Almost as bad as that Doomcock episode of She-Hulk.
That's still my favorite episode of that show. It's still my favorite. Loved it.
Yeah. I just seriously, I honestly, I've only seen the Christmas special of the shooty Doctor Who, that one, and the ones with David Tennant, which I was forced to watch. That Christmas special, when they started singing, that was it for me. That was it.
What did you join in singing?
I
know you like to sing.
So for you guys, since I stopped watching Doctor Who because I wanted to preserve something of my sanity, is it just shitty gay wad, or is it also this character Millie? Because she said some ridiculous garbage lately.
Although she's called everybody out. Apparently, this week she said, except the woke stuff. She as a companion, she was more annoying. But he's got this latest one, Belinda, who is just the most bitter, insufferable, nasty companion I think we've ever had. And literally, she's just there to complain about oppression. But Millie came back last week to put the white dude in his place.
Normally I would say culture. Normally I'd ask you and I'd say, how is it being perceived in the US? But because it's tanking so hard in the UK, there's no point even asking you that question because nobody's watching it over there.
All of North America has the same reaction. I mean, ask Ballstruck. Nobody likes it.
Yeah. And look, Disney are going, aren't they? So,
well, I'll tell you how dead it's been dead since Whitaker. Like nobody here even knows it's still on. Most of them don't even know that Dr. Nutty is the doctor because they ran away during Whitaker's era. And it's funny on as far as I know in Canada, it's we get it on Disney Plus. And we also get it on, it used to be called Space, and now I think it's called CTV Sci-Fi, basically our sci-fi channel. I believe this season is still airing. I don't have cable anymore. I don't know if the ratings are even getting into the 5 digits. Like it's dead. Even the Doctor Who that we used to like, that used to be popular during the Tennant and Smith eras were sort of really the Smith era was when it really blew up over here. Nobody even cares. It's like people have forgotten it exists. Like it is dead.
I was just going to say, I think this is the worst. This is definitely the worst of all the franchises that have gone because...
Yes.
100%.
Because... when Russell T was coming back, there was a fan base that was embracing it. And we thought, didn't we say many times we might get 3 episodes of joy?
Yep.
But did we?
No, we
and
didn't.
That's the biggest... they had a second chance and it was squandered. And that's the biggest crime of all of it.
Mr. Brown is right. I mean, because I was one of them. I mean, I dipped out when Jodie Whittaker was cast because, people can call me everything under the sun and they did, but I don't believe that the Doctor is female. The Doctor is a male
I
species.
don't believe the Doctor is a black man either. I don't believe, look, I don't care what anyone says, right? The Doctor has always been a guy from Cambridge or Oxford. He has that voice. He's very, very English. That is the Doctor, and he's white. I'm sorry to say this, guys, but he's white. This ludicrous rubbish that he has to be turned into because he can turn into anyone. He can turn into anyone. It's bollocks. They should. Doctor should never been a woman and should never been a black man and never been a gay guy. Never. We know why they did it. We know why.
I mean, the same reason that they swapped Isaac Newton into an Indian and changed Davros into an able-bodied character because wheelchair villains are offensive, and turning the sonic screwdriver into a cowpole spoon because it somehow looks like a gun.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean, again, it's when I watched Star Trek Discovery when I first started watching that, I got through season 1, but then literally after that. I was like, I think it was season 2. I bowed out. I was like, this is awful. I gave Strange New Worlds a go with that, and I was like, that's terrible.
Yeah, I got half season and had to drop that. It was terrible.
And then I saw the clips of the dancing Klingons on a bridge or whatever it was, and I thought to myself, I was like that. I was like, which one's the worst, Doctor Who or Star Trek? And then every time Doctor Who goes, hold my beer. I'm just going to raise the bar here, and it's, Ian, we've said before, it's a torch brand, the only way to salvage it would be someone with balls of steel to come in. It needs a good 5-10 years away and them to go, right, we are retconning everything from Jodie Whittaker onwards and we're starting from Capaldi. I've heard people talk about resetting to have a first Doctor again and redo the stories, but for me, that makes Russell T Davies and co win because they've destroyed the legacy of the show. Then, if you're having to start doing the stories from the beginning again, so it will need someone that is strong and is going. If you want me to do this, I'm doing it my way. But
I don't think it even needs a rest as long as somebody comes in, good stories, good lead character. True to canon, blah, blah, blah. People, if it is good, they will come.
Yeah. I just discovered something new because I hadn't even been watching sort of the Canadian ratings. It is no longer listed on CTV Sci-Fi. It is
surprised?
off. I can't find any announcements. Nothing. It looks like it was done quietly. It is no longer being shown in Canada. Like,
do you know what? Right, but what's really
scheduled.
what's really sad is that diversity could really work really well, and it was working way back in the 70s and the 80s.
Star
It was
Trek
working
diverse.
perfectly. Yeah, you're right,
but okay, let's not confuse the two. Forced diversity, which is what we're experiencing now, versus organic. Okay, and that's the broader conversation. I know you agree with me. That's one of the reasons we're friends.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, that's what we're experiencing. When you're forcing the English people to accept a person who is clearly different than what the expectation is of the Doctor, or you're forcing historical characters to be other races than what they actually were, that's not organic. It's not authentic. And again, I'm going to keep saying this word authentic 1,000 times because it's the same reason we've disconnected from the things that we love. You will not build nostalgia on the things that Z was talking about, in that you aren't going to produce something that's timeless. This is an argument that I think all of us have had multiple times. The material is going to be so dated, it will be unwatchable. There are periods of time in Hollywood where they made incredibly dated stuff that nobody ever revisits. The same thing with the television universe in North America. I'm sure Bolstrick can talk about that too. But when you look at the productions that are being made, you can't have an expiration date on your product. If you want to have a future, if you want reruns to be profitable, if you want your streaming service to survive, you cannot have people going back 50 years to find enjoyment. Or revisit enjoyment. I mean, one of the reasons that one of the most BS television programs in the universe is succeeding on Netflix after it was canceled. This is the Suits, a show called Suits. Yeah. You were leading the charge for 5 years on streaming. Why? Yeah. Because you made such garbage for so long that reconsuming and binge watching something that is essentially elevator music now is more desirable than any of the new garbage you're making, like Cuties. Thank you, Netflix, you piece of crap. But it's just like, I mean, we try to chase those people out of Hollywood, and of course they end up in France. Ask that Polanski guy or whatever his name is. All I'm saying is, you have to make things that are going to be timeless, and I think that's one of the most important things Z said earlier. So,
I think I think it, from everything that I keep hearing every day. I mean, you still get the idiots that comment on something you say, and they're saying you're just a phobe because you don't. No, and then you talk to them about the structure of a story, and you talk to them about the quality of the acting. And they then come back with you're a phobe again because they can't answer what you've put forward to them. Because, and again, every single week, when the viewing figures are going down and down and down, it's like, oh, well, no, it's not because it's doing badly. It's because, there was a solar flare and 2 giant chickens were flying backwards across the sky. That's the reason why it was doing really bad.
That was the weather.
Yeah.
It's always it's the weather. So I guess every Saturday has been really nice in the UK. That must be nice. But I'm wondering if the ratings are going to drop below 1 million, and I think they might. A lot of people are not happy about next week's episode and the individual who wrote it.
Yes. Well, there's talk. Apparently, it's going to get onto the bloke that thinks he's a woman.
Juno
Dawson. Juno Dawson.
All right.
Yeah.
I might watch that then.
Rose. What the hell?
What's that? 20-year-old man playing a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Well, and for those of you who haven't seen this week's, The Fugitive Doctor makes a return. So I've been told by the goat.
You mean my next door neighbor made a return? The woman that goes to Asda's every week. Her, you mean?
Yeah, you know the fugitive doctor.
Of course, she's my next door neighbor.
On a side, on a side note, guys, I've got to tell you this, right? On YouTube, popped up yesterday. India, I think it's India News Today, popped up about the India-Pakistan war. You've got to watch that stuff because they are playing it as entertainment. It is high quality. They're telling you about the war that's going on. They've got CGI fighter jets flying around the screen while they're telling you about the war. Yeah, it's crazy. I have to send you the link.
Is it woke?
I've rather enjoyed some of the war clips, to be fair. And Asmongold is using them as material fodder as well, so it's rather popular. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I like the idea that they've managed a ceasefire. So well done.
But one thing we have established is that woke is trying to be subtle in our stuff. It's trying to hide, but we can see it, and they're not doing a very good job. In other words, it's not going to go away. I don't think so, because like Fantastic Four was only made last year, and if people were saying that films are coming out, that was before we decided to get rid of the woke. That's not true. Look at Fantastic Four. And I can guarantee you, when you watch that film, it's going to be woke.
So the same thing I'm going to say again. We have 3 to 5 years of this material always in a circle, right? So because it takes so long to do productions. So the thought behind us getting rid of it immediately as essentially it's dissolved here in the United States and has become so terribly unpopular as an 80-20 issue that even the Democrats are trying to figure out a way to get out from underneath it. So with that all being said, I think that no matter what, when officially Hollywood or any of these entities try to end this, you're still 2 to 3 years away from it actually being an end visible to us, because it will have been so long. I mean, this stupid Riri Williams piece of crap over on Disney Minus, as what Ironheart, the remake of the porn film, is going to be dead on arrival. It's DOA. It's Echo all over again. So
I think it's hilarious, but I've been saying this for years. This will finally end when these studios or the worst offenders end up going bankrupt, and it won't come soon enough, because unless you're the BBC, where you can extort money from old people and threaten to put them in jail if they don't pay for your crap, everything else needs to make
That's the UK government. Bit of politics. Moving on.
Yep. So, but anything that isn't the BBC has to make a profit. And they haven't been making a profit in years. And Disney is going to run out of... Disney still has a lot of money, but it's going to run out of money eventually. And my hope is, I want to see the whole thing implode. I want to see independent films come back. I have... The more big budget something is, the worse it gets. And they've dug themselves into a hole. And they're not getting out of this hole, I don't think. With
you do know Disney weren't happy with RTD's output.
Oh, definitely.
They weren't happy with it at all.
Season 1, they apparently pulled the plug, didn't they? That's the rumor, isn't it?
They were just not happy at all.
Oh, we all know it's done. I'm like, it's because these seasons 1 and 2, they were filmed back to back. And the funny thing when you're watching these is, at the time, I think they thought this was going to be the biggest thing ever, because I think a lot of these were filmed 2 years ago. So they were done last year, and the ratings are like, they could only dream to get last year's ratings.
They were probably thinking what we were thinking, that, RTD's coming back. Stands a relatively decent chance of it being good.
When I heard he was coming back, I was like, yes, finally, some good food. But now all we get is white man bad, and I'm to be honest, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've still got coming up, from the wonderful RTD and Co. You've got the spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen with that. That is going to be the same as Ironheart, the same as Echo, where they know it's a dog with fleas. They will dump every episode over a weekend in one hit. I see you laughing there, Culture. That's going to happen, and it's literally they'll just say, right, we've cut our ties from it, because I think as soon as this season of Doctor Who is over, you'll get the announcement that Disney have pulled out, and then I think you'll get an announcement that Doctor Who is being rested. Won't say cancelled; they'll say rested.
I don't think it's coming back. I'm old. I think most of us here remember when it was quietly canceled in 1989. There wasn't hate for the show. The show had just kind of run its course, and I didn't even know it was canceled up until about 1992. Like there was no fanfare. Just in North America, we would get. I got new Doctor Who episodes from PBS Detroit that would air them a year behind the UK. So I got season 26 in the fall of 1990 in omnibus form, and I didn't even question that something was up until late 1991 when we didn't get any new episodes. And then in 92, I think there was I think it was Starlog, but there was just a brief article, like almost a paragraph, saying that the show had actually been rested in 1989 and was coming back. We didn't hate it back then. I think the damage that they've done to this show over the past 7 to 8 years, and especially what they've done to it right now, I don't think there's any coming back from. Because go ahead, Mr. Brown.
No, I was going to say, you know, when we had the 50th, they put the 50th in cinemas.
They did, yeah.
And I made the effort to go see the 50th.
I went as well.
The theatre was packed.
Yeah.
With young kids, older fans, families, everything. It was packed and it was buzzing.
Yeah. Well, I went to see it at BAFTA because Keith's a member of BAFTA, and we went to see it with the cast and crew from that 50th. And remember, me and Keith, right, we're older gentlemen. We looked around and all it was girls. 17-year-old girls, 21-year-old girls around us, right?
Are you sure?
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Majority of the people that was in that room were young women watching Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? And that's how popular it was. With females.
Well, I think, Ian, and and I think that was the height of Doctor Who. I remember the 50th, even here in Canada. Like it was, in terms of entertainment, it may be one of the biggest events I ever remember. It was like you had Night of the Doctor, then you had the 5-ish Doctors, then you have the special. And I remember like they premiered it live on Space. I remember I almost had like a little party, and then we watched it. Like it was huge. You look at it now, and it's like fun.
Like dumb time.
I mean, you're right.
On the big screen was great.
It was, yeah.
I bet it was. I mean, again, you know, that was a time. I think that was the first one where, because it was so big in the US, they actually set the times at the same time because
it was all at the same time, wasn't it?
In the US. So it was a global thing that you knew it was a big brand.
Yeah.
But the trouble they've always made, you know, now in the last few years is when he came back, RTD, he said, "Oh, you know, we're going to be as big as Marvel, big as Lucasfilm, big as Star Trek." You know, Doctor Who has never been that type of show. You know, Doctor Who is not meant to have a massive Disney-sized budget. It's meant to have tight script, good actors, and it's meant to be a traditional British sci-fi show. That's what a lot of Americans I talked to said they loved it because it was a British quirky show. But now they've gone, right, we're going to ignore that British quirky element to it, and we're going to try and push it to be more American. And that was another thing that affected it as well. But I will, in a similar field to this conversation, I don't know if you guys saw Midnight's Edge last night. Culture, you probably did anyway, but Andre was on there, and he did say, and he's got to confirm it, but he said that he's heard potentially that Kurtzman is out at Star Trek. So if that is the case, then that is some positive news, because the new guys coming in clearly don't want him anywhere near that brand going forward.
One thing is shit. Sorry. That's the problem with all of this. You can't unsee it.
There's one thing that they have to do, right? And I will not go back to these properties unless they do this. Let's take Doctor Who, for instance. If they bring back Doctor Who and they do not retcon the retcon, I am not going back. because that trash will still be in Doctor Who, and I want it eradicated. Same thing with Star Trek. If they bring back Star Trek and they make references to, I don't know, any of that crap that Kurtzman was involved with, I am not going back, because it will always be there. Do you know what I mean? They need to retcon the retcon, go back to the timeline with Kirk, forget about the JJ timeline, go back and retcon the
You're not looking forward
mindless
to Star
children,
Trek,
whatever.
Starfleet Academy?
No, it's all bollocks. It's all going to be bollocks, mate.
I think that's
what it's
already
gonna be.
been kind of unofficially done, but even
2 seasons.
I think now we're kind of lucky that it was still, when the Kurtzman universe was devised, we were still under the Paramount Viacom split, and the issues with rights at the time, which carried through the entire run, will make it easier to separate that from everything else. Although I am on record, I do like Picard season 3, and I think the first season of Strange New Worlds had hope. Then it went to absolute hell. But I think everything else that's come is completely unwatchable. So I think Star Trek could possibly do a reset. Like I think Doctor Who and probably Star Wars are the two that are damaged beyond repair. I've often said I don't think that's the case with Star Trek. I think it does need a rest of a few years just to get the taste of the past decade out of everyone's mouth. But I think if you have somebody like Terry Matalas, who knows what he's doing, who's running the show, writes a show for the fans, a good show, no woke crap, set it in the future, maybe 100 years after TNG, and just give us good science fiction, like give us the quality like TNG and DS9 back almost 30 years ago now, over 30 years ago for Star Trek or for TNG. Give us something like that. And I don't think Star Trek will ever be as big as it once did, but I think it can come back as a successful niche franchise if you do it right. Doctor Who is very different. It's right into the chronology. Star Trek, it's not focused on just one character. It's focused on many crews, many different series. Doctor Who has been focused on one character, and it's continuous. You have one regeneration to the next. So there's a line that's very hard to get away from. You have a canon destruction episode 5 years ago that completely ruined the show that RTD
to retcon that
this week. Put in there. I don't see that they can do anything with Doctor Who without a full reboot. And because of the history of the show, I don't think you can reboot it.
It's a time travel show, so you can do anything you want.
So wait, they can retcon Doctor Who, right? If I was in charge, I'd retcon it, right? I'd come up with some idea that they can retcon that the Jodie era and the stupid My Next Door Neighbor and the stupid City Gatwick era did not exist. I will create something that's what's needed to when it comes back, right? 2 mistakes that Doctor Who made, right? One is to cast Sylvester McCoy, which really destroyed it.
How dare you?
Okay, I disagree with that.
I love Sylvester McCoy. What are you talking about?
Let me finish. Talking bollocks again.
I'm going to make a little goal with you.
And another mistake they made was to cast Peter Capaldi. I like Peter Capaldi, but that was not the time to put Peter Capaldi, because America liked the young Doctor, and then they cast this old guy, and in the episode with him in it, they kept saying,
Hugh Laurie
I'm old. Because I'm old. It's because I'm old. They kept saying that in the episode. Did you not notice that?
I agree and I disagree. Personally, from a personal perspective, I love season 1 or series 8 Capaldi, not the
I do like
characters
Capaldi,
he was playing after that. I loved his interpretation of the Doctor, but I do agree. It's 11 years ago now since he was cast. I do agree with Ian that it was a mistake because while old people like me loved it, I can see why he didn't resonate with the general public. They should have cast something of the caliber of Matt Smith, who may be the best actor who ever played the Doctor. Although Capaldi's up there, but he was miscast at that time. I think had they continued with that, the show would probably still be dead now because this is 20 years after it came back, but we would have had at least a few more decent seasons. And then it would have kind of drifted off into the sunset like it did in '89 with a chance to come back without everybody absolutely hating everything it stands for.
Because they lost the young audience. They lost America when they cast Peter Capaldi. I thought everyone all the Americans that I knew.
If I may.
No, you know?
Oh,
so,
may.
No, go on.
When Smith left, I was fatigued with it at that point. I think I watched the first episode of Capaldi, and I just thought, I'm tired with this. They should have They should have rested Doctor Who at that point for maybe just 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I later revisited Capaldi, and I thought, Christ, this is really good. The writing was dog shit.
The first season, Brown, it really isn't. I mean, the moon is an egg, for fuck's sake.
Okay.
Although the problem was Moffat, because I think, and I now disown
should have gone a
all of
season
you,
earlier.
so I'm looking at this the way I used to view it. But those first 5 seasons before they did what they did were by far the strongest. RTD before he became what he is now, and David Tennant. And that first Matt Smith season I liked, but the problem was Stephen Moffat, and specifically his season arcs, I think were the first crack, especially at the end of even season 5. But season 6 is a disaster. To this day, I have no idea what's going on in The Wedding of River Song. Some of his standalone episodes were good, but the season arcs were such a mess that, frankly, you got bored. So I think it had to do with Moffat, because keep in mind, it was only 6 years old when Smith left. I think, say if you had somebody that gave us just straightforward, not complicated, questioning the very essence of the Doctor philosophical crap, I think it would have had a life. I think the life of the show was probably about 10 years, where it could have remained successful had things been done properly. But I think it would be about 10 years ago now, 2015. I think that's, even if it was still good, we would have seen cracks start to appear, which that was the first season where the ratings dropped.
Inevitable, isn't it?
Did Smith leave because Karen Gillan talked
No,
him to go
no,
to
it wasn't.
Or was that just a myth?
He just wanted to move on. I think he'd done his time, and that it was grueling hours, wasn't it, that they were filming? So he called it a day. I mean, culture. I was going to ask you as well. Do you think that Kurtzman's out at Star Trek? Do you think that's
just like KK?
Yeah,
KK's leaving. You know,
this will be the third time that I've heard it, but the current circumstances would likely be the case, because again, Skydance doesn't want to be tied to a lot of this stuff. They're kind of hoping the administration here in the US pushes the DEI completely out of Paramount, which is CBS, right? So that's in fact one of the things is I believe if you see 60 Minutes get canceled, that might be a strong indication of the direction the Skydance wants to go. Yeah. But do I think it? I mean, I would love to lean into that. With Andre saying it, I think it has a lot more credibility than some other, Yahoo.
Said it this week.
I think I think part of the issue, and I'm still skeptical about it, is the first time it was reported that Kurtzman was leaving was back in 2018.
Yes.
After the first season of Discovery was not received very well.
Yeah.
Then I think it was that year where he got his first 5-year contract, which has since been renewed into another 5-year contract. So it's I think at the end of every season of Discovery, it's been rumored that he's leaving. And until he's actually gone and we have confirmation from Paramount at this point, it's in some ways it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. It's the same thing with KK, where we get these leaks where we think, okay, he's leaving, and then he doesn't. So as soon as I see confirmation from Paramount that he's leaving and that they have a plan to save the show, and that they shelve Starfleet Academy because that could be a franchise destroying show, and they want to give it a rest for a couple years and come back as good Star Trek under. I personally, I want Terry Matalas running the show because he knows Star Trek. He knows what he's doing. And perhaps in an advisory capacity, somebody like Rick Berman or Iris
Nick Mayer.
Nick Mayer from
we'd give anything for Rick Berman at this moment.
Yeah. Do you know what? Right, basically, they need to. Again, I would say this: they need to retcon the retcon, because look what happened to Matalas when they gave him that last Star Trek show to do with Picard and everything. He was stuck with the crap. He was stuck with the 7 and 9 rubbish and that stupid woman with the curly hair. He was stuck with Worf and all that nonsense. He was stuck with this rubbish, right?
Yeah,
and
she's all right.
No, he had to work it into the show, and that's what I mean. If they bring the shows back, if they don't retcon the retcon, we're still going to be woven with this crap in the shows that we love.
Yeah,
I think they need to retcon it.
Okay, except look, I mean, as much praise as people heap on Terry Matalas, he is the one that is literally walking down the worst possible path with this Last of Us 2.
Yes.
So it's not, I mean, there's a lot going on. You can have admiration for people who do a decent job with what they're given. And well done to Terry Matalas for that particular season. But at the same time, Star Trek's not rescued. There's not saved. None of these things are going to be saved. I think a fresh reboot of Trek in the original vein of Roddenberry, with his thoughtful utopian direction that he was trying to take the original series, I think that could possibly work. And I think it could work under Sundance because honestly, believe it or not, that family wants to be in entertainment more than they want to be in electronics and such.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Set it in another century and use seasoned drama writers rather than these newbie graduates that they seem to insist.
See, I love that idea, but name some because they don't exist anymore. There's very few people out there that haven't been booted out of the industry that are writers. Because, they go off and they write novels. Now you're going to have to adapt novels, which they've already staked out. I mean, through that bullshit company, Hello Sunshine, she robbed a lot of authors of some really great material and book after book after book. Yes, she gave them a platform so she could push those particular books. But the problem is, then she got acquired for, I don't even know how much, like $1 billion+. And here we are now with these wonderful novels that have been acquired that are going to be developed in the wokest possible way. So, cheers to, all these media consolidators like Candle Media, who of course are working with Disney right now, and many others, for finding a niche to settle into. But you're going to wokeify the stuff that, our buddy, the famous director here hates. So, you gotta go a different way. I mean, look, we've only gotten here to Fantastic Four. There are far more woke trailers out there. The problem is I think we all are in agreement. There may not be a way out of this in the near future. And whether or not it's rebranded or, what did you call it? Replated, something.
Retconned, reboot.
Right.
Tom Cruise, Mr. Cruise is going to save us in 3 weeks' time.
I wish that were true, but it's not.
Yeah,
I mean, not because of any of that, not because of the content, but because it's going up against Lilo and Stitch. I mean, if I were Paramount right now, I'd be crying into my beer because their windowing is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, who thought that was a good one?
It's like it'll do $1 billion for me. I think it.
I don't think it will.
Right tone. You don't.
I think it will hit about $500 million, 500 million. I mean, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was an absolute failure.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, Lilo and Stitch, I think, will do $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I think he was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's been long enough.
And I feel bad. I feel bad in a lot of ways for Cruise because these are two of his passion projects right in a row that are going to hit the ground, right? And it's all because of the windowing. And that and the films are too long. I mean, you cannot have a film be 3 hours long. You can't do it.
Yeah, it's big hit in Japan, isn't he? Tom Cruise, is it? And
hey, I'm famous in Japan. I don't know if you knew that.
I think they're going to make a good substantial amount of money there. Together with American, I think he'll just about pull to break even, I reckon, because this one was very expensive as well. This one, wasn't it? I don't understand why it's 3 hours long though. I really don't.
No, editing, but I think and I think the ultimate savior is just give us new stuff because everything that we're talking about, like Mission Impossible, it's the movie franchise has been around since 1997, which itself was a reboot of a TV show. So there's nothing really new there. We're looking Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. These franchises have been around for decades. I think most of them have probably run their course in terms of what you can do with them. What I would like to see is give me something new. Like I recently started watching Severance. I picked up
it's a great show.
First season on Blu-ray, and I very rarely watch new stuff because most
Don't
of it
watch
I
season 2.
absolutely hate.
Watch Mobland. Mobland is fantastic.
Actually, yeah, I've been getting into that too. So there's a couple things there, but Severance, I'm like, this is good stuff. And Ian, don't tell me season 2 goes to crap.
No, Z, back me up
Yes.
here.
Well, season 2 is good, but it is starting to turn into a mystery box show.
It is, yeah, unfortunately.
And season 1 was intriguing and very well written, very well constructed. And I was genuinely looking forward to season 2, but season 2 was a bit of a slog and didn't tell you anything about what was going on. We're still left in the same position.
Well, yeah, that could be like everybody remembers the disappointment of Lost, where we followed that for 5 years, and then we got whatever the hell that final episode was. So I'm going to try and convince myself that I still like Severance because I haven't finished season 1 yet. I'm actually taking my time with it.
It's good.
Yes, it's but I'm like, that's an original property. We can still have good stuff in theory. And Mobland, as far as I know, it's not based on anything, so that's an original property.
Reacher is good. I like Reacher. I didn't like season 2. Yeah. Season 3 was great though.
The thing I would also say, guys, one big concern I have is that we talk about Tom Cruise and we talk about he's like the last movie star. And I also think with the low quality of movies that we're getting now, plus the lack of an actual movie star, I'm concerned that by the time that Hollywood does wake up and get out of this nonsense phase, they would have killed the cinema industry. You have niche cinema, but I'm worried that you'll get to that point where they've just tanked it because they're unsustainable.
Do you guys agree? I wanted to ask Casino this actually. The tariff that Trump is putting into, I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring back more, productions back into LA and trying to make America great again. But do you know what else it might do if he does go through with this? Because there's a doubt that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's just put this out there. It will make the British industry. It would force the British industry to make their own kind of Hollywood, because the British film industry does not exist. No matter what anyone says, the British film industry does. We are the prozzies to the Americans. They come over here. They use us silly,
and we pay them.
I don't want that image in my head.
They pay us, and
we pay them for the privilege.
We never make anything. Right.
No, everything's made here. You look at every movie or TV show, it's made in Toronto or Vancouver. So oddly enough, most of what you're watching is Canadian, technically.
Yeah, but
so we're screwed. But if you watch anything that's actual Canadian entertainment, it is horrific.
Okay, right. The point I'm trying to make is if he does put that tariff in, and it is what he says, it's going to force Canada and England to actually create a system that they should have done in the first place. It's gonna force them to make their own independent films solely based on their money and their country. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I think that would be a bold thing to think that he was thinking about. But really, this was just a matter to turn Hollywood around. But it will force you to do that, and it will force Canada to do that, because I'm very sorry for the lack of culture in Canada. You have some cultural cities, you have some great food, you have some wonderful architecture until recently. But just like here in the States, I mean, everything's turning into, a box. Your McDonald's is a box. Your apartment building is a box. Your house is a box. It's just like all of the wonderful, great things that we all celebrated in culture are turned into boxes. Everything they want is going to be in a box. You have to fit in a whole series of boxes. But no, the film, I think the film tariff, I think ultimately that was just a point for negotiation for the future. I mean, you guys, look, I have all the guy's books. I've read the way he thinks. I understand, the game he's playing. He always asks for far more than he's looking for. The big ask is bigger than anything you could possibly imagine. I mean, 150% tariffs on China, whatever, it is that he proposes, always way outside the norm. But he makes people comfortable with the idea that you're still going to pay us 10%. You've never done that before. It's been a century since we've had fair trade, actual fair trade, and especially under the globalists for the last 50. The worst decision ever made by the consortium of countries was to allow the Chinese to enter the WTO. I can talk for hours on this stuff. It's not in my niche. It certainly isn't in this channel's niche. But I'll say that I think the point of the film tariffs is multiple, but I think the primary one was just to get another negotiation point and to move Hollywood onto the right side of history. It's going to take nudging, not only internationally, but in the States, in order to turn things around. And at least I know that he's paying attention to culture. He comments about Disney. I mean, the guy's at least, paying attention to stuff like that. I don't think Biden...
President
Go
Trump.
ahead.
If I got into power, I tweeted President Trump asking if he would make Star Trek great again. He didn't reply.
Okay, he may be caught up, but I can tell you this much: if you're a quality businessman in the United States with a decent sized corporation, you have influence. Like, let's say you trade in rare metals or things like that. Let's say your corporation, you have very much more access to this particular administration than the 5 previous. I can tell you that right now.
I keep hearing a creaking noise. Is that?
It's probably me. I'm getting
Ian's
old.
Wallet opening.
Oh, very funny.
I was going to say it's probably me. I'm old, so it's happening.
Same here.
Same here, mate.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Ian. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, effectively, pretty much, I mean, that's it for today's show. And I just wanted to go around and thank everybody for coming on the show today. Thanks for everybody for being in the chat. But I also wanted to say, first of all, culture, let us know where everyone can find you on your channels.
Oh, it's terribly complicated. I have used this Culture Casino thing everywhere. So if you can't find me on Odyssey, Rumble, Getter, Twitter, X, whatever you call it now, Minds, Rumble, YouTube, I can't help you. It's very simple. Do check it out. I do an awful lot of material every week, and I follow many of the people on this panel. So I'm constantly engaged with great material because of everybody else here. And I only occasionally have been able to hang out with Bolstrek and just tell him how much I've enjoyed him over the years. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, you were awesome as well, my friend.
And Ian, let us know where you can be found, and also just tell us about Rebecca Gold as well.
I can be found on the Brown Alliance, which is Ian's channel, on Sundays, and also on John's channel, as you know, because I'm on John's channel. But Rebecca Gold it was going to be season 2, but I think I'm turning it into a feature, which everybody should enjoy. I'm not going to split it up. I'm just going to make it one
good
big
lad.
film.
Well done, mate.
So Rebecca Gold, you can find Rebecca Gold season 1 on the Rebecca Gold channel, which is on YouTube, and you can see me on Twitter, or is it X? Who knows, whatever. And and sometimes I'm on other channels as well. So that's me. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Mr. Brown, thanks very much for coming on today. It's
thank you for
nice
the
to have
invite.
you on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just let us know about your channel and where everyone can find you.
Obviously, Mr. Brown Alliance, a lot of the peeps in the chat know where we are. Tomorrow, doing the news of the week stuff. We're covering Andor at the moment on Wednesdays, which is fun. That's about it, really.
Brilliant.
Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. Bolstrek, let us know where everyone can find you, mate, and let us know about what you're up to. I know you like to wind certain leaning Doctor Who fans up with certain videos every now and again. So tell us about that.
It's often fun. So yes, you can find me at Bolstrek, the YouTube channel. I'm not there this week. This week's review was done by a talking goat that sounds like a squirrel. So you can check out Professor Dinkle's review of Doctor Who. I'll probably be back next week. You can find me X at Bolstrek, which is the channel, which is my sort of account that makes people mad. And then if you want to hear about horror movies and fun things, my alternate identity is Cultivated Media. So that's on Twitter. Normally on Saturdays, I'm on the Spacebook, but that's on hiatus for a while we do the Dr. Nutty and Friends. but we should be back. I think probably this summer. So yeah, that's about it for me. Yay.
Yep. And Z, thanks for coming on, mate. And yeah, let us know where you can be found.
Oh, you can find me on the Andor streams on the Brown Alliance channel every Wednesday, and I'm also a reprobate on the Trev Retro channel.
Brilliant. Excellent.
And in closing, I'd just like to say it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lock everything down, everybody. It's not going to be fun.
Shields up, red alert.
But no, and yeah, again, thank you everyone for being in the chat today and joining the show. And until next time, look after yourselves. But take care, all. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.